We are going to have a little bit of fun today. So, if you've seen some of my other videos, you already know that I do have a playlist on here that is where this video will be held for all things spiritual and fun and connected and just grounded. This is for fun, entertainment purposes only. So if you find yourself here and it's not your vibe or it's not your belief system or whatever you feel, if you feel conflicted by it, I encourage you to just stick around on some of my other playlists that actually talk about psychology and humanizing business and just business topics and marketing topics in general, and not playing or dabbling into my spirituality playlist. So it is my belief that this video will find you at the right time, will find you in the right headspace with the exact message that you need. I would love to give more context on how I got started into this, on top of it just being a huge movement right now to reconnect to our energetic levels and our spiritual levels. My journey. So how I got started into channeling and practicing mediumship, and now I'm developing this ability to tap into my psychic mediumship gifts that I do have. I've done readings now with nearly 100% accuracy, like 90% accurate, which was amazing. But I've always had experiences when I was younger, when I was 15. There was a lot of years where I didn't know or have the words or have the understanding. I don't come from a long generational line of aware, gifted, psychic mediums or clairvoyance or anything like that. And so it just was never nurtured. When I was 15, I heard a very clear, audible somebody call my name. I thought it was my mom. So I went looking through the house and there was nobody in the house, but it was so loud and so clear that I literally got up from my chair and went looking through the house to see what my mom needed, but nobody was home. So there's been instances like that, just feeling like things are around, people are around, feeling energy, getting gut vibes. And then what really, really kicked this off was in 2022. My son was just, maybe a year old. And we were about to open a brick and mortar indoor playground space. And so my mom had come to my home. She parked her camper in our driveway because she was going to stay in our part of town to kind of help renovate things. And from there, I remember leaving her camper and my son was rolling around on one of the beds that they had. It was one of those pop-up campers where it has a king bed on both sides. And I remember I was about to leave. I was about to walk out of the camper and I just had this voice in my head. It kind of sounded like my own thoughts, like my voice, but it was inspired by something else because I just never would have had this thought organically. And he was rolling around on the bed and I remember in my head thinking, oh, I should ask my mom if those beds are secure, if the sides are secure. And I didn't really know how to put these up because I never did it. They always took care of putting it up and putting it together and breaking it down. And I remember almost immediately after telling myself, oh no, you're just being paranoid. And so I went to the house, I left, I didn't ask, I went to the house, and not even 5 minutes later, not even. And the fact that everybody's a witness to this is crazy. Not even 5 minutes later, she comes running in the house with my son, who was really out of it. He was just kind of falling asleep, just kind of passing out. And so the first thing I knew immediately would happen, that he had fallen out. And so she explained it to me that one of the sides was not secure, and they don't know why, but one of the sides wasn't secure. And by the time she saw him rolling out, she tried to grab him by his feet. He was sliding out of the side of the camper, and she missed, and he ultimately went falling out and fell onto the ground. We thought he fell onto the driveway, which was a good 5-foot drop. So I immediately, and I knew immediately as soon as she ran inside, it was like, oh, I should have listened to my gut. So I called 911. We went to the hospital. Turns out he was completely fine. Had like the air knocked out of him, which causes, it can cause you to kind of go in and out of consciousness. It's just some kind of reaction that your body has when it's trying to protect you. It's also happened to me when I've played soccer and I fall and I land on my back. It just happens. So yeah, it turns out that he actually landed on one of the sewage hoses. So it actually broke his fall. It patted him. And from that moment on, the voice that I had inside of me was so crystal clear. I remember thinking back, like, well, why did we have to go through that? Like, why did we have to go through that stressful moment just for him to be okay and kind of have nothing come out of it? It was just totally inconvenient. And what I got from it, from my spirit team or higher self, however you address all things spiritual, was that that moment was designed. That moment was made for me to have a crystal clear hearing of that voice, because I heard it very clearly. And I ignored it. And I said, oh, I'm being dramatic. I just chalked it up to me being a paranoid mom. And what I've come to realize after that, and going back and forth with my spirit team and just asking why and understanding, was that if I had listened and I had asked my mom to check the side cabinet or the side paneling, we would have noticed that it was not secure. And so if I listened, I would have learned that voice, and we could have avoided all of the frustration and trauma of that night. And when I didn't listen, I still learned that that voice was accurate and what that voice actually sounds like. It just took a little bit of scary, a little bit of traumatic moments for us to, for me really, to really understand what that voice was. And so what I got from them was that moment was designed for me to know, to have a knowing of what that voice was, and to know that that voice is accurate and that that voice is intuitive and knows things, right? And so whether I had listened or not, I would have learned that lesson, which was important. If I had listened and leaned into it, I would have avoided all of the trauma of that night. And he ended up being fine. He's totally fine. He's healthy. It will never happen again. But that's my story. So I've always had these experiences. I've always had kind of a deeper knowing. I've had everybody from everywhere that I talk to tell me that I'm an old soul. There's a lot of us here, right? I'm not special, but I am in a stage of my life where I'm leaning into this a lot more, and I'm very excited to pursue it more. And so that's just a quick little story of how I've kind of always had some weird things happening, some different things happening to me, but then also the moment where I really, really learned what that voice was, and to listen to it and to just trust it. So fun stuff. Let's get into it. For this reading, it's a brand new deck that I have because I'm just kind of getting to learn it. I'm having fun with it, right? This is all about having fun, not taking life too seriously, getting some guidance, and just really seeing what we have in store for us. I'm using the Green Witch's Oracle deck. Tarot is a little difficult for me right now because I'm coming from such a very structured business brain. Again, military experience, didn't have a lot of nurturing in this area of my life growing up because we just didn't know. But now that it's become such a big thing and it's more widely talked about, it's more accepted, right? I'm not going to be like put at the stake or anything. I can really lean into it and explore it a little bit. So I'm using the Green Witch's Oracle deck, which is all about leaning into nature. So everything in this deck is about the natural processes of living and growth and seeding and tending, all of those things that you would find in a garden. That is what this deck is about. And that is what I'm using to begin my journey of just sharing a message and practicing and just seeing what Spirit has for us, what kind of guidance, what kind of messages are coming down. Just a word of advice. This is just for entertainment purposes. Take it or leave it. Take what resonates and leave what doesn't. But I do believe that this message will find you at the right time, always. So how I like to do it, you'll notice there are some tarot card users that will just like rapidly flip through their deck. That's just not me right now. I'm very slow, methodical, right? Very new. I split it a little differently. You'll notice I throw some over here, I bring it back. I've just always done it this way. It feels natural to me. Even with playing cards, that's how I've always done it, to shuffle. And then when I get to a good space where I feel intuitively I can stop, I pull from the top. I don't do any kind of fancy, middle, bottom, whatever. Everybody has their own system. I'm going to be getting into runes soon. There's just a lot of things happening with this playlist. So it's going to be fun. Take it, with a grain of salt. But how I'm going to do today is just really ask for a message. We're going to pull one card as like an overall theme. And then I'll pull 3 more to kind of clarify what the message is for today. And I would love to do these daily eventually, just to continue practicing myself, but also to offer help and insight and guidance for anybody who's looking for that at this time in their life. Okay, without further ado, I'm just going to ask for clarity and guidance. I'm going to ask for the clearest message for the highest good to be served to us right now. And that this message would be empowering and healing and also enlightening for whoever hears it. Okay. So here's what I've planted over, and it's already making sense. So we have gentleness, relaxation, and sleep, which is telling us that we need to be in a period right now, business, relationships, self, that we need to be in a period right now of rest. There is action that is coming. There's action that's going to be very fruitful in the near future, but to be okay being methodical and more restful and more relaxed about it. I'm actually not surprised that this is coming up right now, because it's a big message for me to just have a little bit more fun in life, to not take things so seriously. So this is the overall theme. Then I've also pulled, I'll show you really quickly just so you know. We'll tilt this down. Then I've also pulled these 3. So it's sowing, altar, and seeds. And the reason that this is important and why I think this matters right now is because while we're in this period of rest, we also need to sow what we're looking to plan, right? So we're planning, we're setting our intentions, we're keeping a very positive outlook on life. We're also maintaining our gratitude and releasing burdens that we have. We cannot get into a period of relaxation or stress-free or just in general, just a feeling of happiness without letting go of burdens, mistakes that we've made, ways that we haven't been perfect. And then the last one that I pulled was seeds, which is invoking new ideas, hope, and an open-mindedness. So what this is telling me is to allow yourself to withdraw, to really find ways to be relaxing, happy, to find ways to just not take things so seriously. While you're doing that and learning to do this, sowing and planning intentions for the future, being able to do that from a state of relaxation and peace, being grateful and releasing burdens that no longer serve you, releasing responsibilities, roles, titles. That was a big one for me, releasing titles, and then planting the seeds that you want, planting new ideas, changing your perspective, and really pursuing the path that's meant for you. But in order to do this, in order to set this up for it to be fruitful and worth it, you've got to learn to relax, to have fun, to play, or else you're just going to be too serious, too stressed, too distracted to do these things here. Again, I'm not surprised at all that that came up in the deck. It was a completely random pull, which I love. And it's a valuable lesson right now. It's kind of a recurring theme that's happening right now in the world. So that's validation for me. If that resonates with you as well, then I would really take into consideration ways that you can start to relax and not take things so seriously. The last 2 years, I spent my career dedicated to building a clientele, an agency around my title, which was fractional CMO at the time. And why that's important is because that's the highest you can get in marketing before you either become a founder or you do some other kind of thing. It's a C-suite executive, essentially. And I did work with small businesses. I did not work with corporations specifically, because that just wasn't my path that I chose. I chose to work with small businesses. But in doing that, I began to reach a state of burnout again. And I was really frustrated because I was like, I finally achieved all the things, all the goals that I wanted, that I had in mind. And I still was reaching a state of exhaustion and burnout. And I just could not for the life of me figure out why, until I decided to take time off. That is when my creativity began to come back. That is when I began to get inspiration and downloads from my own intuition and my spirit team that basically allowed me to pivot in the right direction, which was to find things that I like to do, but not take it so seriously. And in doing that, I was able to then kind of restructure a path for me. I decided to leave the marketing industry as a professional, so I'm no longer seeking roles in marketing. But I still have a role to play in that industry. And that is a part of what this channel is about. That's a large part of what my talks are about when I give presentations and workshops and I speak. This is where I'm heading with things. And so you can see, even from my experience, I'm able to take what I came from and use it as a tool, as leverage, as insight for where I'm going. And a huge, huge part of that was being able to take a step back, to relax, to allow my creativity to come back in. And that gave me the space and the freedom to really understand what it was that I was looking for in a career, in business, and how I could get there and how I could plan for that future. So I really love this message today. If you want more insight on this message, check out the description below. I'm going to go in depth and kind of channel what's coming to me. That would just take a little bit too long to go through in video. Some of you might be more visual and you just want to read it. So I will leave that channeling down in the description. And if you love this content, I encourage you to stick around and follow. If you don't like this content, just stay on my other playlists, which are more superficial, more, black and white to business and marketing and just life in general. So you don't have to dive into any of the spiritual or the energetic things, but this is a part of what my channel is about, and I do hope that it resonates with you.